brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. Suds. It's time for more Suds.
This is definitely time for more Suds. I am good old boy Mike. This is a Suds episode here on Sip, Suds, and Smokes, where everything good in life is worth discussing. We'll definitely have quite a bit to discuss on this particular show. Joining me here at the table, I have a round of great hosts, our perennial hosts, Reverend Mark.
Good afternoon, friends.
Good old gal, Julieanna.
Hi, everyone.
And good old boy, Dave.
Hey, everybody.
I just thought you would say beer.
I saved that for the end.
All right.
That's my goodbye, not my hello.
That's your goodbye, not your hello. This is going to be a very interesting episode. If you have not heard any of our style beer shows, we've done some other shows on Stout. We've done another show on Saison. This show is a double blind tasting that we are doing for IPAs. So we're going to be actually discussing this in two parts. So if you are listening to this episode, be sure and listen to part 2. You will hear more of the discussion that we're having today. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. We're going to be talking about Double IPA and Imperial IPA, which is, really rather close cousins of each other in definition. And so we have actually picked 23 beers.
Yes, that's 23.
23 that we're going to go through. Now, IPA in general is one of the most popular styles in the U.S. right now. And it is known from a strong but balanced bittering. And then there are different unique characteristics like West Coast styles with this bright and bold floral hops. And then the complex flavors of IPAs that are actually being made in the eastern side of the U.S. And so there are things that are regionalized. There are ingredients that are very unique to each of those regions. There are style differences between all of this. We've decided to cast some of those aside. I've selected 23 IPAs, double IPAs, and Imperial IPAs in a double blind tasting. So my suckers here at the table, my co-hosts, have gone through this double blind tasting, well, 23 of these, and we'll talk about what those 23 beers are in just a moment. Up first is going to be good old boy Dave. He's going to be telling us what we're going to be doing today as we're talking about these beers.
We'll be tasting and discussing these beers using the SUDS rating system, along with our signature belching sounds. Here are those.
What's a brewing sound like?
It sounds like a mash tun. Yeah. Sounds like my fermenter. Signature belching sounds. Here are those ratings now. Number 1, that sucks. Give me anything but a bud. Number 2, was that a belch? Number 3, what a relief. Number 4, a body should really not make that sound. And number 5, using my cool radio voice, listen to that hang time, give me another.
It's got to work on that, doesn't it?
Dude, that was solid.
No.
So we have just really put a twist on this tasting. So they literally, this is 23 different beers that we have tasted and rated in a double blind tasting. So that means that nobody knew, except for me, what beers we were tasting and where they were being poured. Just a bunch of glasses, a bunch of numbers, and a rating sheet. Now, all of us have been in beer competitions, and this is the typical way that you judge beer in a beer competition. It's just a bunch of blind tasting. You just have a bunch of glasses in front of you and a bunch of numbers in front of you. So it creates a very level playing field. So What I am doing right now, which you can't see, is I am handing out the key that's associated with our tasting sheet. And while everyone is dropping in their key into their tasting sheet, we're going to actually hear their reaction as I am telling you what are the 23 beers that we have tasted in this double blind tasting, because it's going to take me a while.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
Oh my God!
Wow, dude.
Oh, look who we gave the
I
skunky
know!
to. There you go. Yeah.
There you go. I knew
Oh,
this would
my.
happen. I wanted to capture this on the
Because you
radio.
guys, I told you guys it wasn't that bad.
All right, so while we're still hearing the fallout from...
Wow.
Dude, I was on point with everything.
Oh, whatever.
You know what? Let me see something. I don't even drink IPAs all the
I
time.
don't think
but
that's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, so here are the 23 beers that are in this blind taste testing. Number one, Green Flash, West Coast IPA. Number two, 21st Amendment Hop Crisis. I'm not going to read the numbers out. I'm going to just read the numbers. Dogfish Head, 90-minute IPA. Cathedral Squares, St. Lenny's. Odell Brewing, Mercenary. Belching, Beaver, Brewery, Damned. Firestone Walker, Double Jack. Blackstone Brewery, Enabler. We'll talk a little bit about that. It's brand new on the market. Oscar Blues, Gubna. The Sixpoint Craft Ales Resin. Sixpoint Craft Ales High Res. Moylan Hopsickle. New Belgium Rampant. Stouts Double IPA. Stone Ruination. Founders Double Trouble. Three Floyds Apocalypse Cow. Hair of the Dog, the Blue Dot version. Southern Tiers 2X IPA, Lagunitas Maximus, Foothills Brewing Scene Double IPA, Great Divide Hercules Double IPA, and our last one is Founders Devil Dancer. So those are the beers that we have in this amazing double blind lineup.
I knew every one of those before you gave me the key.
Whatever.
Yep.
And-
I thought I had most of that down. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Liar. All of you. So, if anything, I just... what an amazing lineup that we had to go through today.
What is the Belching Beaver? What is that one?
Don't really want to know.
Exactly.
Oh, I want to know.
Yep. So you might have to forgive us. We're not going to be able to provide a lot of background information on some of these beers because they're not familiar or new to us. Or so you may have to be looking up some of the particular information on some of these outside the show. After I clear my throat. Here, hang on a second. Let me
have a beer.
Yeah, I think I'll have a beer. So, I guess the first question is, what did you think? You mean, or were you surprised at some of the beers that were in the lineup, or what you picked?
I only had one that I'm surprised about, honestly, and I'm not that surprised about it, but I'm more surprised about some that I picked lower scores.
Me too. Me too. Yeah.
But I didn't really taste a lot of bad beers. In all this 23, there were only a couple that I gave a 2 or something. I gave a lot of 3s. And
that's true.
Yeah.
When I looked down the numbers, on my sheet overall, I only had 1 5. I had a lot of 4s, a lot of 3s, a couple of 2s, but no 1s.
Yeah.
And I think that says something about the quality of the style of beer that's being made, in the U.S. right now overall. You look like you were about to pick up your jaw off the floor when I asked the question, Julieanna.
Well, the reason why I say this is because production, I guess, and bottling can mean a world of difference. Because I was really shocked at this particular beer that...
Oh, her skunk award.
That we all agreed, yes.
Oh, man, this is so horrible. Oh, yes. Yeah.
No,
I liked it.
Okay,
Even though you said it was skunky.
you
It
would.
was.
You would.
You can say it was skunky,
But
but
literally,
skunky worked
okay,
for it.
folks, seriously, you know, when you hear about a skunky beer, okay, there are varying degrees of skunkiness when you hear of a skunky beer.
It was not Heineken, by the way.
Right. And what may constitute to one person as a skunky beer may not be so bad to somebody else. Now, granted, we are tasting double IPAs and Imperial IPAs, so there is a degree of astringency that comes in some of these beers that some people may even constitute as skunk. But this beer, literally, you smell it and you are smelling a skunk.
It gets the Pepe Le Pew Award.
It really does.
Our skunks.
It is just overwhelming. And then when you find out that it came from brand X, you're like, oh my stars.
You're going to have to think about how to temper
Yeah.
your
I just hope
discussion
nobody
about this.
picked that as one of their 3
I
favorites.
hope nobody from Brand X is listening.
Yeah, well, they are definitely. I think a lot of people are going to be pretty surprised. So, a very good lesson here to talk about. What can happen, in bottling and distribution, to something that. This is a beer that we know very, very well.
Right.
And there is just no way on the free planet that it should have tasted the way that it did today.
Well,
Let me just
exactly.
say,
So-
brewers love their beer, and they do everything they can to brew, package, and a beer that they can be proud of. Everything that happens after that is totally up to people who are just looking to get beer from one place to another as fast as they can and make dollars from it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and-
that's a good disclaimer, I think.
Well, and I think that when we reveal, I'm sure over the course of the discussion, who this was and what happened.
It's Bud Light.
No, it's not. Please don't sue me. I think that there was a bit of a lesson learned here. I think for distributors and brewers alike, to be able to understand what can happen with something that when that product left, that brewery, that's not what the brewer made. There's just no way.
I think it's a good lesson for beer buyers too.
Yeah.
You get a beer that you've read on websites, Rate Beer, Beer Advocate, or something that everybody's raving about, and they're
And
so
get a
crazy
hold of
about.
a
And you
bad
get
bottle.
one, you're like, oh, what the?
Yeah.
What is everybody talking about?
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Always.
And so I think we've talked around which beer this is enough, and I don't think any of us are going to talk about this beer for the rest of this. So I will reveal that the beer that we're talking about is Stone Brewing Ruination, which is a double IPA. This is a fabulous beer, and there is just a tremendous measure of letdown with all of us that this is a brewery that we really enjoy. We've all had this beer just at least well over a dozen times.
Yeah.
And we really know that this is not the right representation of this beer.
No.
It's just been light skunked. That's just the
Right.
bottom line of it.
Oh, it's not even light skunked. It is heavy skunked.
Well, and in all
For
fairness,
light.
to Stone or whoever this could happen to, and it's not just for them alone, is that the hoppier your beer, the more susceptible it is to being light struck,
Yeah.
to having that effect. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to name names about exactly where I bought this, but I will tell you that was purchased in the last 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that has not been sitting in my beer cellar for 6 months or something like that. Some of these beers have.
Well, you know what that tells me is that Stone should just open up a place in Nashville.
and be
Here,
done
that
with
way
it.
we don't,
right,
we don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. you know.
Yeah. So
Come to Nashville, Stone.
all I have to say is I'm really glad this was in the lineup. Very unfortunate that we ran into a bottle that this was the case because I think that it would have stood up very well with the onslaught of other beers that we're going to get to talk about in this tasting. So in our two-part series here, what we're going to talk about is each of our hosts are going to go through their top three, rank them in our SUDS ratings in 1 to 5, and that's going to be this particular episode. And we're going to kind of talk a little bit about the tasting overall as we kind of went along here. So up first is going to be Reverend Mark to talk about his top 3
Yes.
beers.
All 3?
Yep,
Okay.
all 3.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go through them in any order you want. You can go 3 to 1 or 1 to 3, whatever you want to do.
Okay. Well, I'll go 3 to 1.
All righty.
And, it was really close. And there were some other really wonderful beers that just barely got squeezed out. My number 3 top choice was, in our lineup, number 2, which happens to be the 21st Amendment Hop Crisis.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, a little bit about the. So this is a brewery that primarily distributes in cans. Mm-hmm. And this particular can that I've had for Hop Crisis is actually from last summer.
Oh, wow.
So that tells you a little bit about.
It doesn't get light struck.
I know, it did not get light struck, and this is something that I've actually it's been stuck in the beer cellar for a little while.
Cans are the way to go.
Yeah, well, it says something. So, what number 3? So, what were some of your tasting elements from this?
I noted that it was clean, it was crisp, that it did not have a lot of what I termed as caramel static, meaning that it was a little bit more on the lighter kind of pale side, which is what I personally prefer for an IPA or a double IPA. And I thought it was well carbonated. It just presented well. Of course, I actually went from 1 to 23 in that order, so it was fairly fresh on the lineup for me. But overall, I was just, really thought it was quite a good big beer that did not, require that I do a lot of analysis. It just was clearly one that I would like to have another one of.
Huh, interesting. Yeah. So what's your SUDS rate?
4.
The body should not make that sound. So, what's next in your lineup?
Okay, then on down the list, about almost exactly halfway, my number 2 choice is, it was number 11 on our lineup, and it was the Sixpoint Craft Ales High Res.
Wow. Huh. Interesting. So, for those of you that may not be familiar with this particular product, Sixpoint Brewery is based in Brooklyn, New York. This is a rendition of a beer that they've been making for quite some time called Resin. It's a version of it called High Res that they broke out this year. It's basically a high alcohol version of Resin itself, and Resin has been around for quite a while. Sixpoint makes some really great beers. This beer is actually distributed also in a can, and it's actually distributed, I believe, it's at a 10-ounce can or an 8-ounce can. I think it's an 8-ounce can. But in both the Resin and the High Res version are both distributed, in the same, type of, I think of the 8-ounce can version. So it's interesting you pick this out.
It is, and it's the second, on the list that's been canned. I'm sure there are several more that we're sampling today that were canned, but that completely makes me a convert, to the future of canning, especially when it comes to these, double strength, imperial strength IPAs. It really, really does. I said that this one was very big, very flavorful. It was as I termed it, a hop rocker that still goes down easy.
Hop rocker.
That's cute.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, so this is a beer that I thought we had it on a show a few months ago where we actually compared Resin and High Res against each other. I know that I've tasted both side by side. I thought we talked about it on the show, and I actually was not a fan of High Res, and I'm a huge fan of Resin. I mean, this is a beer that I'm
the same way.
This is a beer that I consume probably every other day, or at least once a week. This is something that's in my daily tasting flow of beer. At least Resin has been. And I really did not think that High Res was a bigger, better version of Resin itself. So very interesting that you happen to pick that beer. I'll talk about my rating for that. What's your rating for
I give it a 4.
A 4?
Yep.
And that's the same as well for me. So my rating for the High Res was a 4. Great aroma, always a great beer. 6Point's a great brewery.
Yeah.
Yep. So what else is here in your lineup?
Number 1.
Okay, my number 1 pick. Oh yeah, and it makes me feel really good because I've actually been to this brewery a couple of times.
Ruination.
No. No, I picked on our lineup number 22, which was the Great Divide Hercules Double IPA.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, and I've been there a few times. I love Great Divide. Love them, and I had no idea I was picking out their beer, but I just thought it was very fresh to me, and it had a lot of good malt sweetness, but not cloyingly sweet. It was just a wonderful assault, in the nicest way of saying that, on all the different senses.
What's your SUDS rating on Great Divide Hercules Double IPA?
5.
A 5. How about that? Well, I want to give a chance for anyone to chime in on any tasting notes. If those are not in your top 3, if any of those, none of those were in my top 3. So.
None of them were in mine. The only one I would really say that I really have anything to say about it, I thought they were all good. Again, I gave all the ones that were in your top 3 at least a 3. The High Resin, the only thing to me about it was it was really sweet to me. So it was very heavy and sweet to my palate. But they were all good.
And for me, the 21st Amendment was in my, I was narrowing it down to 5. Well, actually, I was narrowing it down to 6. And,
top 3, top 6, what's the difference?
I was having a hard time because, okay, this is it's a tough group because, I mean, not you guys, I mean the beer.
Oh, I think you mean this group.
No, but it's hard because it's about balance, and sometimes you want something that's a little bit out of balance, as a good Double IPA or Imperial. So it just makes it that, to me, anyways, it makes it that much harder. So, it was in my last grouping, to narrow down. Yeah, and I was surprised by the 21st Amendment because some 21st Amendments I've had that were just, yeesh. And then others were good. So I was surprised and happily surprised that this was in my final round, if you will.
So what was your SUDS rating on that one?
That one was a 4.
Body should not make that sound. And so to offer some contrast, so the 21st Amendment hop crisis, my tasting notes around that it was sweet, ick.
There you go.
That was the only one that I wrote, actually, and one of the few that I actually rated, a little bit low. So actually my SUDS rating for 21st Amendment was 2, which was at a belch. So a very interesting contrast, between these. But I will say that on the flip side, my comments around the Great Divide Hercules Double IPA, fabulous brewery. Oh my goodness. You could funnel Yeti in my veins all day long if you wanted to. Also on my daily rotation of beers, and but not this particular one. The Great Divide Hercules Double IPA. My tasting notes are really earthy hops, but a little bit sweet. That's about all I wrote down. My SUDS rating for that is actually a 4. I should not make that sound. So a really good beer, and for me to write down earthy hops, I mean, it really has to be something that I feel like I'm scraping, some dirt off the sides of my tongue. So really great discussion, great hop profile. What were some, I'm curious about your surprises out of your entire stack. We'll talk about, everything a little bit later, but was there oh my God, I can't believe I didn't put that in my top 3?
Yeah, well, of course, one that was like in my top 6 or 8 at least was the Firestone Walker Double Jack. It didn't quite make the cut, but I think that was really well done, and I'm kind of surprised I didn't pick that.
Well, we get to talk about the whole list on the next episode, so I'm sure all of us are having these moments like, really, are you kidding me? I didn't pick that. So
yeah, and then I also thought of, even though I have never had it before, but I've heard a lot about it, is the Hair of the Dog Blue Dot, and I didn't rate that nearly as high as I would have been inclined to had I known what it was. How the suggestion of that this is sort of like the great Pacific Northwest sort of counterpart of Pliny.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we're all going to have those reactions as well. Listen, we're going to take a quick break here, and we will be right back. We'll pick up with Julieanna's top 3 and head on around the table. So don't go away. Come right back. Thanks. Hey, thanks for coming back to us from that break. We are talking about double IPAs and Imperial IPAs today, and a double blind tasting of 23 different beers. So we're headed around the table. We're all talking about our top 3. Next up is good old gal Julieanna. So, Julieanna, do your best. I mean, name it from 3 to 1, 1 to 3, whatever you're going to name here.
Okay, well, can I mention my honorable?
No.
I didn't even.
No.
I just.
I knew she was going to go here. She had all those glasses in front of her, so.
Well, it was tough narrowing it down. Sorry. I'm a girl. I'm indecisive at times.
She's one of those kids that couldn't follow directions in kindergarten,
That's
right?
why
Dave?
she has 90 pairs of shoes.
I got scars from kindergarten because of that.
What do you mean I have to pick my best friend? Oh, my God.
Whatever. Fine.
I'm sure you can pick your top favorite 3 beers out of this.
Fine. So, starting off with number 3, which I was pleasantly surprised, was number 14, the SUDS Double IPA.
Ooh, wow. Very interesting choice.
And I know, I'm a Pennsylvania girl, and I'm happy that I picked a PA beer. And I really enjoyed this. Don't look at me funny.
That's just how I look.
No, we can't make this stuff up, people.
It just flows. Okay. What I liked about it was that it was a good balance. It was sweet, and it was hoppy, and it was malty, and it didn't leave a super bitter aftertaste, and I really enjoyed it. And I gave it a 4.
How about that? Right off the bat. So, stouts is a very interesting choice.
Thank you.
Honestly, out of 23, double IPAs, many of you thought that would have been your natural choice, to hit the top 3. So, any other comments about stouts, your tasting notes, your ratings?
Well, I'll say that it was my number 4. It just barely made it out of my top 3. I gave it a 4 as well. But I would also say, having been to stouts, if you're ever in central Pennsylvania or wherever the heck that place is, stop there and hang out. They always have something cool on tap, and the place is really cool. They always have a party going on. Stouts is a great place to visit.
I've been there. It's not too far from Hershey.
Right.
Yep, I've been there. Yep.
I wish I could say that my tasting notes were the same. I actually wrote down it was a tad sweet, and my rating was 3 for the stouts.
I did somewhat the same. I gave it a 3, and I just simply said it. I didn't say it was sweet. I said it was less hoppy, which is sort of the same way.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
It's just a different way of saying the same thing that you said, but in a different way.
Yep.
So what's up next?
Number 21.
Number
Foothills Brewing Seeing Double IPA.
Amazing. All right.
Dude, I effing love this beer. It's
Didn't
yummy.
she say effing?
She said it in a politically correct way, though.
Oh, okay.
So what are some of your tasting notes around this beer?
This one is just... It is so smooth, it's almost like drinking a whiskey. It's... but what I love and enjoy about double IPAs is that they're not so tough as regular IPAs can be. There is a sipping quality to them, and as this is warmed up over time, I've just enjoyed it even more. It's a really good balance, really excellent flavor, and I'm happy that this is from Foothills because I like what they're doing. And this takes me back to the winter warmer where, a moment here where Dave and I got engaged at the Asheville Winter Warmer. It was a great winter warmer, but it was the first time I was introduced to Foothills, and I really enjoyed what they had on tap that day at the beer fest, and they had this on tap, and I was like, wow, this is a good beer. So and this I give a 4 as well.
Very good.
And Dave drops to his knees, and the crowd goes,
Oh,
Nah, I just stood there and cried.
yeah. Holy crap, there's another person that actually loves me on the planet. Will you stay with me?
We'll see. We're
It's
not
early.
there yet.
Other reactions to Foothills Brewing seeing Double IPA.
I really liked it. I mean, I think I just wrote good IPA. That was by the time I got to 21 or 22, I was like two word sentences. But I did think it was very good.
Well,
I gave it a 4.
So that's your SUDS rating is 4. Oh, okay. And I think that's an interesting story, kind of about all of this. Is that I did not start at the beginning. I actually started in the middle of our overall tasting group. One, just to make sure I was trying to manage my palate, which is half the battle. In tasting 23 beers like this, I caught all of you. You were having water, having crackers, taking a break. Trying to reset your palate as much as you could through this. Very difficult, incredibly difficult, wasn't it?
yep, but worth the battle.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, I had some good news about Foothills Brewing seeing Double IPA. Also hit my top 3.
Yes.
All right.
And I mean, out of 23 beers for any of us to do this, very different taste profile. I actually wrote down lemon hops was what I wrote on my tasting notes. But even as I'm tasting it here now, I mean, it kind of tastes like somebody has taken limoncello, dropped it a bit in a barrel, kind of stirred it around, and then taken the stick and stirred it around in the IPA, because there's a little bit of wood in there. There's a little bit of, kind of a sweet lemon, kind of thing going on. If anything, it's kind of tempering the bitterness within the beer itself. And so it kind of created all this, kind of complex, balance, between it all. I don't know if that's what they were going for. I have not a clue. All I know is it works really well. And it definitely hit my top 3. So mine was 4 for Foothills Brewing seeing Double IPA. And to be honest with you, I have no idea where I picked that up. And I don't even know if I can get it again, for that matter. But that is it's not a beer that I've seen all that often. And certainly I would say that worthy of coming back and picking up once again.
Yeah.
Any other comments about?
Yeah, I would say this actually was my number 4 pick. It really was,
Wow,
and I gave
cool.
it a 4. I said it tasted to me like a very dry, which I look for in any kind of double or imperial IPA to start out with. It seemed like, and I don't know this, that it had maybe a little bit of rye in there.
That's what I'm tasting.
Yeah, because it's really, sort
now
of,
that you
aside from
mention
it
it.
being dry, it has just that interesting rye taste. And I love Foothills too. I was actually there earlier this year on a spring break with some students, and it was not spring at all. It was like 20 degrees with ice on the pavement, and Foothills was like my haven every night. And so I actually got to sample this, on the tap. So sorry I didn't pick it for my top 3, but it was right with
Yeah, it was a great beer. It really was. It was worthy of discussion. What else is in your top 3 there, Julieanna?
Well, interestingly, I did snap a couple of photos, before you started pouring, and I noticed this logo, and I'm like, oh, that's
What is that?
badass. Cool. Luckily, I picked it as my number one.
Huh.
And that would be the Three Floyds Apocalypse Cow.
Oh, wow. Very interesting.
Now this, I love this beer. This is number 17 for everyone counting.
Yeah, on the table.
On the table, yes. Oh my God. I mean, I've been sipping it, and I've just, it keeps opening up even more, and what a great beer. Now, I'm a fan of Three Floyds to begin with. You know, I really enjoy their Alpha King, and we went to a winter warmer in Louisville this winter where we had Three Floyds on tap. And, you know, besides actually going out to Indiana, this is the closest, you know, that we've ever gotten to it. And they had some really good stuff there at the winter warmer, but this just reinforces the fact that I need to get out that way to get more of their stuff, because it's so balanced, but it's got like this nice resiny ending to it that I really enjoyed. And to me, that's about like what I love about hops is a resiny hop flavor. And this gave it to me in, you know, tenfold. And it's got a really nice sweet ending to it, but I still taste the resiny hops, and it's still there lingering, and I really enjoy it. And this one I gave a 5.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah.
That's a pretty high praise, definitely. As soon as I hit the right button. Well, I'll jump right in and share the echo of the same thing, because also my number one pick, which was Three Floyds Apocalypse Cow. I mean, pretty amazing. My tasting notes around this were well-rounded, very floral hop, very West Coast style, but there was just some unique balance about the whole thing that was really working for me. I actually remember picking up this bottle, and I have to give a shout out because Three Floyds is becoming rather difficult to find unless you're outside of the Indiana, Chicagoland market. Even in Chicago, it's still difficult to find. I ended up picking up this bottle in Ohio at Jungle Gems, which they just got an occasional case every now and then. And this was the bottle that I ended up picking up. There was just 6 of them up there with my name on them going, please pick me, Mike. And so I ended up grabbing 3 of these and bringing home. I had one right away. The one we had here, I've probably had cellared for, 6 or 7 months. So I think the fact that it was really showing as well as it did, really says an awful lot. This was probably a beer that I was really a bit worried about, the fact that I'd cellared it as long as I had. It was probably one of the ones that I had probably cellared a little too long. I never would cellar an IPA. Frankly, it was just kind of in the mix, and I'm like, well, how many double IPAs do I have? And I pulled this, and I'm like, oh, I got to throw this in the mix. So it was my top pick. My SUDS rating for Apocalypse Cow from Three Floyds was a 4. Any other comments about Three Floyds Apocalypse Cow?
No.
I liked it a lot, but I went from 1 to 23, and by the time I got there, I think it was a fatality of my own palate fatigue. Yeah.
I will say I could taste the cow.
Yeah.
All right. Just on the back end, just a little bit.
He tries so hard. Yes. Well, very interesting what's in your top 3. I'm very honored that 2 of my top 3 were shared with you there, Julieanna.
That's crazy. I mean, because we had no idea.
We had no idea. I mean, literally, I couldn't tell you the measure of honesty and how we arranged this. We couldn't even plan this, even if we had tried for weeks on end. So
when you guys were doing all that planning, you weren't talking about this? That's weird. Okay.
No. And, even though I knew what we were tasting, I swear, after 23 bottles, I had no idea what was in what glass. I knew which beer we were tasting today, but so I wasn't probably in the purest sense of a double blind. But even then, there were just like 2 or 3 beers that I was like, I kind of know what that is, good old boy Dave. Hang on just a second. Before we get to your top three, we'll take a quick segment break here.
Cool.
We'll be right back in just 15 seconds to hear good old boy Dave. Well, I'm sure you really enjoyed hearing that really fun music or a really crappy commercial. Depends on how you look at it. Today on Subsides and Smokes is a subs episode. A subs episode. We're talking about subs. My favorite is Capicola. With a little provolone. Subs are about subs. This is a suds episode. We're talking about beer. We're talking about double IPAs and Imperial IPAs. This is a double blind tasting of 23 beers we've gone through today. We're going through our top three in this particular episode. Next up is good old boy Dave to talk about his top three.
All right. Well, when I'm drinking an IPA, a double IPA, an Imperial IPA, a double Imperial IPA, an Imperial double IPA.
Is there an ending to this song?
Maybe. Let me get to it. So I try to keep it very simple. Not too bitter, not too sweet. A light body. If I can have a nice balance in those things.
It's tough to say light body in this lineup.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
But that's the challenge too, though. I think if it's not like chewy, I think that's a light enough body a lot of the times. So I really did not taste a lot of bad beers in this whole flight of 23. There were some that I definitely liked better than others. So my number 3 beer of my top 3 was the Lagunitas Maximus.
Wow.
Number 21.
There's that.
Wow.
So tell us what your tasting notes were on that.
Well, and it was by this point I was writing very little about each one, but the thing about it is that it was just very balanced. It wasn't too sweet. It did not. The bitterness did not blow my mind or anything. I just enjoyed it. It was a beer that I could probably drink a pint or two of, and I gave that a 4.
But I should really not make that sound.
So discuss.
Well, so
funny you should say
I don't know.
that.
I had this whole thing going through my head. By the time Dave's talent hit that number, he was going, "I am a tiny little bitty man. My palate is blown. I cannot do anything. Please save me."
I said that at number 1.
Yeah, I definitely had like a Monty Python episode. Hopping through my head, literally. Well, I think. Lagunitas Maximus, by its definition, is a hop bomb.
Yeah.
And I remember when it first came on the market, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I don't think that there's anything that could sustain itself to have more than one of these beers. But I'm looking back even at my tasting notes from today. I wrote down caramel sweet and hoppy, and my SUDS rating is actually a 3 for Lagunitas Maximus. Lagunitas is a great brewery. I really love, a lot of the beers. I thought it was going to be a little tough for this beer to hang tough with all the other things in this lineup. If anything, I would have thought it would just have been a palate blowout.
Yeah.
Nearly barley wine, style of bittering. So I was really surprised how well it stood up.
Yeah.
In this group. This is a fresh bottle. I just picked this up 2 days ago as well. So I knew that this is a bottle that should have been just as fresh. Other comments about Lagunitas Maximus?
Well, now that I know that it's Lagunitas Maximus, it does remind me of another Monty Python, the Life of Brian,
You're
whose
not gonna
father.
say pee-pee, are you?
No, not this time. Brian's father, he finds out later in the story, was a Roman centurion by the name of Naudius Maximus.
You know,
Get ready to hit
just try to
get
make
ready to hit
this
the
stuff.
dump button, dude.
I do not, you know. But that's the reason why Reverend Mark and I hang in all the time, because we probably have the Monty Python channel on like 24 hours a day, and we know every single line.
I think
we know
you guys are the Monty Python channel.
It just, you know, there's definitely something to that. Any other comments about Lagunitas Maximus?
I just thought it was a little bitter, you know, compared to a lot of the other things. But that's not bad per se for what it is.
It was supposed to be a hot bomb.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, and that's what it produced. And I gave it a 3. Sorry.
Sorry.
This is kind of like speed dating, so, you know, our excuse is,
really
hey, it's
felt
not
like-
you, it's me. You know?
Right, exactly.
It's not your hops. It's me.
Hey, I didn't make it. I just drank it.
Yeah. What else is there on your list?
All right, so number 2 on my list, and this was the one that kind of surprised me, was the New Belgium Rampant.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Just,
Wow.
It's like,
I know. I'm just going to get ripped on everything I put in here. I thought it had a great aroma. I thought it was very balanced. I don't go for super bittering hops, and I don't go for super floral hops or, you know, finishing hops all the time. I like just a nice balanced beer that I can drink, and I think that's what this was again. I gave it a 4.
all right. Body should not really make that sound. Other tasting comments or ratings on Rampant.
Sadly, I said,
Oh, wow.
I was so
Are you going to skunk too?
No, it wasn't a
Okay.
skunk too. I just thought there was some sort of, there was a taste there that I just couldn't understand and comprehend, and so I'm sorry.
That taste is called good.
Oh, well, I was into the cow, I guess. I don't know.
Which end of the cow?
Whatever. And I just gave it a 3.
Oh, wow.
Well, I noted, and I think it corresponds with Dave's comments. Although I didn't give it as high a rating, but I said that it was clean and bright. That is, it just really struck me as a very well crafted beer. Everything had fallen out. It was just nice to look at. But we're not just looking at beers; we're tasting them. It had. I noted that it was just a little lower on the bitterness end of the spectrum, but I thought it was still well within the mark. And so it kind of corresponds with saying you just don't want it, just over the edge. So that was a very good beer. I just didn't rate it. I just gave it a 3.
Thanks, Mark. At least you were nice about it.
Yeah.
So my tasting notes around New Belgium Rampant, almost exact deja vu here. So I wrote down bright hops. Those were the 2 words that I wrote down. So I think the question that I have around this beer is, I felt like this was a marketing manufactured beer by New Belgium. This just felt like they had pulled off a higher alcohol version of Ranger.
Yep.
And had thrown it in a bottle and said, for those states that have some variation between low grav and high grav, like Tennessee does and a couple other states, we just need to create something that basically, So my tasting notes around New Belgium's Rampant here were very similar, almost the exact same words that you described, which were bright and hops. I mean, it had everything that you would think of, with West Coast style. My SUDS rating actually was 3 for Rampant. But, I think one of the questions that I had around this particular beer was, this feels like something that was marketing manufactured, by New Belgium itself. This just feels like a high grav version of Ranger. That's really all this sounds. I mean, is that even close to what you think is going on here?
Yeah, totally.
And it's almost a deja vu of, what was going on even with Sierra Nevada. I mean, they did the same thing with Torpedo IPA. I just felt like that was, a high grav version of, their pale ale. that they had basically just taken into a high grav version.
But I think that happens a lot. I mean, look at Resin and High Res.
That's true.
You know?
Absolutely. And so I think to your point, Dave, is it a better beer? Or is it just nothing more than a marketing ploy?
I don't think that the Rampant is better than Ranger. Ranger's really, as far as IPAs go, is really pretty good. I think Rampant's good, but I think people look for higher gravity. They want to taste something bigger, better. That's the American palate. We want bigger and more. And if you're a production brewery and you've got this much grain, this many hops, this type, and you've got this sort of production schedule, it's not like you can just totally reinvent everything to make a brand new beer all the time when you don't know that it's going to be any better. So you take a good beer and you ramp it up. Rampant. See? Boom. You see what I did there?
Wrong.
See how I did that? Yeah.
There is no way. Good try.
I have to say that I have not always been a big fan of Ranger as we get it here in this area. But when we were at the brewery, it was one of the best beers we had all week because it was just fresh. I mean, it actually had been bottled like an hour before they served it.
Sure.
I'm telling you, they pulled that off the bottling line and handed us one, and I was a believer. All of a sudden, I was like, this is not the same beer that I've enjoyed. I mean, this is a really, really good beer. Yeah. So, there's something there to, our discussion about distribution model and, how things can influence the style of what's going on. If they dropped Ranger in a can, I wonder if it would taste exactly the same.
Well,
way
and that's what
did.
I was speculating about this Rampant. If it could be packaged in a can, then I mean
I might be a believer.
Yeah,
definitely.
And as they move their canning facility, or as they set that up in the Asheville area, maybe that will be something we can look forward to.
Yeah. All right, Dave. So one more to go, right?
Yes. The number one beer today. The best beer that anyone has ever had today on this show, whose name is Dave. I picked the Founders Double Trouble.
Wow, man.
Yes, Controversy is my middle name.
Interesting.
Dave Controversy Brown. And I did not write a lot about it. I just wrote, it smelled so much better than any other beer I'd seen today. It was beautiful, floral, and everything. I gave it a 5.
Wow.
Now, rip it apart.
I'll take the first swipe.
Go ahead.
So, my tasting notes around this it was citrus-laden hops, kind of earthy. I don't know, it did not fit in with everything else. And so, it was a little bit, which one of these things is not like the other?
That's why it was the best.
So, actually, my rating was 2. Was that a Belch? So there's a little bit more to the story here. This particular beer was growler right off the tap just yesterday. Yes, I know. Here in Tennessee, we now can enjoy high gravity beer off the tap. Oh my goodness! Yes, I know. It's just amazing. So a big shout out to Red Dog. That was one of many places that you can now purchase high gravity, but they actually offered this up to talk about on the show. I really had higher hopes for this because this is a beer that I enjoy a lot. I've had it in a bottle a lot. Mm-hmm. I was pretty surprised how I rated it in the double blind here. I will probably go back and enjoy some more of this. Even after I've given it a 2, I will probably still enjoy it for what it is because I really know what that beer tastes like on tap. So I was pretty surprised. Any other comments about Double Trouble from Founders?
Well, I hate to say that I gave it a 2 also. I wasn't as I just felt like the hopping for me was not the regimen I would have chosen, but it was not a bad beer at all. But I just didn't give it.
Any other comments?
Well, I have it in a honorable mention mode, which I want to discuss on the next episode.
The next episode, we'll talk about.
So I'm just going to leave it
all
at that.
14 honorable mentions from her.
Let's, that's
Dave,
cool.
thanks for going through your lineup and all three in a
I can't wait to tell you.
unadulterated fashion.
I can't wait to tell you how much I hate all your 3 beers. So go ahead.
Yeah, so we've already talked about 2 of my 3, and I'll just reiterate those really quickly. Number 3 was the Foothills Brewing Seeing Double IPA.
Hated it.
Yep. Was in Julieanna's top 3. I rated it a 4. Great lemon hops were some of my comments around that. The other one out of my top 3 was 3 Floyd's Apocalypse Cow. It was SUDS rating of 4. Well-rounded floral hops, great West Coast style.
Tasted like a cow.
Yep. So, no surprise to me, what was rounding up my top 3 was Dogfish Head, 90-minute IPA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but my palate is well trained to this bad boy, and I knew exactly what was going on with this. This is a beer that when somebody asked me what is the reference beer for this style, this is what I'd name right off the bat. It just has a balance of sweetness and bittering to it, and there's this earthy quality that is off the backside of this that is really just, I think it's a great, unique flavor. It's one of the early beers from Dogfish Head that I fell in love with. I have easily smoked 4 or 5 cases of this beer. I just, it's one of those beers that I go back to when I'm sitting there staring at everything going, what do I feel like today? I feel like not making a decision and having a 90-minute IPA. That's what I feel like today, So, some people reach for a Bud. I reach for a 90-minute IPA, and it was something easier for me to pick out of the lineup and something I knew that was my go-to. And it is such a great reference style in this entire lineup. So I definitely have some things to talk about, much like Julieanna, about what was not in my top 3 that I really thought would be, and we'll get to those. My SUDS rating, though, for Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA is no surprise. It is a 5. And it was my only 5 on the entire sheet, so even though I picked the Apocalypse Cow as number 1, it was not my highest rated beer, which was kind of a bit of a twist in my rating system. So really great discussion about what was in our top 3 all the way across in this fabulous double blind tasting. We will definitely have a lot more discussion on our next episode about this entire tasting, what we thought, what was not. We'll go through all of Julieanna's honorable mentions,
all 20 of them.
All 20 of
and
them.
And the list is many.
To make sure that she knows what those are. In the meantime, let's wrap this show up for our listeners. Really great show. I always love our single style shows, but definitely in a double blind tasting, it got rather quite interesting. Thanks to all our listeners on Sip, Suds, and Smokes. You can catch all of our episodes online on iTunes, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Stitcher, YouTube, Uncle Jock's Basement, and Spreaker, our native media host. Our terrestrial radio stations are questioning every single day who stole that parking spot and who bought this show. They're always expanding. And if you would like to hear this show on your favorite radio show, give that parking spot back and hand that person a Bud or a 6-pack. Give them a note and copy us as well. You can always reach us online at info@sipsudsandsmokes. If you would like to submit a lawsuit to Dave, mail that to dave@sipsudsandsmokes.com.
Care of Mike.
Our daily tasting notes are always available on Twitter every day at @sipsudsmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. Do us a favor and take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a great big help, and if we actually get to see your feedback as well. I want to thank my co-hosts for being here today. Reverend Mark, thank you.
Cheers.
Good old gal Julieanna.
Every craft beer is good.
Honorable mention. And good old boy Dave.
Beer.
Favorite tagline of all outside of my own. I want to thank all of our listeners for being here and joining us. This is good old boy Mike asking you to join us once again and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sips, Suds, and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see you all next time.